and some of the characteristics at what layer the firewall is going to work. Now, continuation of it, how a firewall works at the network level, and what is the difference between packet filter and the firewall. So first let us understand packet filter versus firewall. So all of you aware of port, protocol, then network devices, node, host, computer, Ethernet card, etc. and so on. Are you aware of these things? Yes. How the device is identified when it is able to communicate with other device? In what way you are identifying the device? The one is IP address, the another one is MAC address. How to obtain IP address of a local machine? IP config. If you type the command ipconfig in the Windows command prompt, it is going to be listed all the IPs belonging to your system is going to be displayed. So in this case, wireless LAN adapter Wi-Fi network I am currently using connection specific BMSIT.net. IPv6 address is a 64 bit, sorry, 128 bit. IPv4 address is 10.110.1.57. This IP is the internal IP of Wi-Fi adapter. Subnet mask is this, means how many number of the computers can be connected to this network, approximately 255. So default gateway is this. So similarly, the IP of this system is IPv4 address 192.168.56.1 is for adapter virtual box. Okay. So to obtain this information, what is the command? Ipconfig. In case of in Linux, ifconfig. This ifconfig works in the Linux, whereas ipconfig works in the Windows. Okay. So if a device is exist in the network, each device is identified through IP addresses. If it is one computer, if it is another computer, if it is another computer, this computer might be a firewall or wireless address protocol. These may be connected Wi-Fi or the cable connection. Each system has the IP address, like for example, just for example, 192.168.1.1. This firewall also, which has the address 10.10.1.1, and another computer 192.168.1.2. So each device identified through the IP address. After understanding this, firewalls and packet filters generally perform the same function. So, on what way firewall works? Firewall works on the rules the administrator is going to set for the packet communication. So, if the functionalities are similar, definitely there is a little difference between firewall and packet filters. Otherwise, why two terms are there exist in the network? So packet filter inspect traffic based on characteristics such as protocol, source or destination addresses and other fields in the TCP IP packet header. So packet filter works on the characteristics of protocol, which protocol either TCP IP or FTP, ICMP, etc. Source address, for example, you can think this is the source computer. The source address of this computer is this. This is a firewall or wireless access point, and this is the destination address. Just imagine, these are some imagination for the discussion. This is a source computer sending data when to the internet. That internet is going to connect to the firewall. Firewall filter out the packet which is sending from the source. If it is valid means how the firewall is come to know whether it is a valid or invalid. So the administrator is going to set the set of rules for the packets, whether it is a HTTP request or the FTP request. If the rule is set in such a way that FTP does not allow, if you are not allowing the FTP connections, then the FTP request sent from source to destination address here itself in the firewall is going to drop those packets which is sent as a FTP request. If it is HTTP request, then it allows since why it is allowing, since administrator allowed the HTTP request coming from the source computer to the destination computer. Okay, the packet filter works on the protocol. Which protocol? The which protocol the system is using? Protocol either TCP or IP connection or ICMP, that is ping based connections, or FTP connection, etc. So packet filter work characters, it going to filter out the packets based on the protocol, source IP address and a destination IP address. And some of the and other fields in the TCP header packet header. So usually TCP packet header flags are ACK sync, ACK sync. Please recall these terminologies which you already learned in the previous semester. Okay. So packet filters inspect the traffic based on protocol. Why I am stressing out this means next concept discussions is purely based on the understanding of this, the IP address, protocol, the header format, etc. So packet filter inspect the traffic based on characteristics, protocol, source or destination addresses and TCP or IP packet header. Then, what is the firewall? If it is the case of this, what is the firewall? Firewalls are the packet filters. In addition to the job of the packet filter, extended work of the firewall is going to do application layer. Firewalls may examine more than just packet headers. They may examine packet data as payload. Even content of the packet is going to be inspected by the firewalls. Those are installed for the purpose of the application layer. So not only these three parameters, the even on top of the packet filter, firewall extension is to inspect the payload which is carrying in the packets. For example, a packet filter may monitor connections to port 20 and 21. Usually these two ports are the FTP ports. So packet filter, what is it is going to monitor? It is going to monitor the packets at the 2021 of FTP ports. FTP is the protocol, and the port numbers are 20. Port is nothing but what? It is a virtual entry point to the machine or the computer. Then, a firewall may be able to establish criteria based on the FTP port. So, firewall. So, to enter into the system, you need to have the ports. You need to have the ports. Let's say this is one. This is connection. Let us take a wired connection. Then it's usually a two-way connection. So this is exit point of the system. Is that is number one. Let's say port one. The one computer, it supports how many number of ports? It supports from 1 to 65,536 ports are supported by computers. So among these ports, some fixed ports are there. From 1 to 1024 are the fixed ports. Means some specific functionalities are assigned for these fixed ports. Remaining are free. You can use it for any other purposes. So these are the standard ports. Among that standard ports, port number 20 and 21 belongs to the FTP. So to enter into the firm, suppose if the computer once sends a packet to the FTP, so firewall, it is going to inspect the traffic sent from the computer one of the protocol FTP through the port number 20. If it sends the packets to the computer to that is destination, since in between these two nodes there is one more node called as firewall, it is going to inspect the packet with the protocol, and a firewall extension job is to inspect even including protocol port as well as the payload also. So based on the FTP port numbers as well as FTP payloads. So payload might be, suppose for example, the payload might be a virus. Maybe a payload, that packet may contains the malicious code. The packet may contain the normal code, or the malicious code, or the any zip file, or any unintended file if it is transmitting. In such situation, firewall going to inspect the pattern of the file which is present in the packet. So how the firewall will come to know the pattern? Again, the job of the administrator, he has to define the rules. how to define the rules and all we will gradually discussing in this session today itself. So, such as the port command or file names that include the text password. If any password content is there in the FTP transfer, etc., and so on, that the firewall is going to be inspected. Then, so a web application firewall, this is about the application layer firewall. So, whereas web application firewall watches incoming connections for telltale signs of SQL injection attacks. So, if you think this firewall is a web application firewall, if this firewall is a web application firewall, then the packet is coming from source to the destination. The in between the firewall is going out to inspect any SQL injection attack kind of traffic is coming from the source machine or not. It is going to be checked. So then, and outbound traffic for sensitive information being leaked from the web application. For example, web application may be resided in this destination server. There you think this client machine. You can think this is a client machine. This is you can think it is a web server or the server machine. So in between firewall or firewall, either application firewall or web application firewall. So, if client sends a request from here to the web server to fetch a web page from this server, before going to reach your request to the server, in between firewall is going to inspect the packets at the content level is if any SQL injection kind of attack is there. If it is there, it is able to find such kind of traffic bounded attack, then the firewall sends an acknowledgement to the client machine. The packets are dropped, or sometimes without sending the acknowledgement to the client machine, firewall is going to drop the packets immediately without noticing to the even source also. Okay. So the term packet filter refers to software that makes decisions based on protocol attributes, addresses, ports, and flags. So protocol attributes are, so which type of the protocol, either TCP, IP, UDP, it's a reliable or not, ICMP, etc. Addresses are source IP address, the destination IP addresses. Ports are source port and destination port. Either usually is 443, 8080, 2021, 1024, any ports. And the flags are sync, ACK. These are all the some of the flags which already you know about that. So packet filtering provides security to a network routing devices. So packet filtering is going to provide the security to the network devices. So packet filtering is a software which provides a security to the network routing device. Here firewall in between is installed. Firewall as acts as a networking device here between the source and the destination. So the term firewall is usually reserved for software or devices whose primary purpose is to apply security decisions to the network traffic. As I said, if FTP connections are rejected from this firewall, if the request or client machine sending the FTP request, then immediately firewall take the decision of dropping the packets before forwarding it to the destination machine. So if the source machine sending HTTP, if rules are defined at the firewall level as HTTP allow, then such kind of packets are going to be allowed to reach the destination, vice versa. Okay. Then the terminology intrusion prevention system and intrusion detection system. So IPS firewall also acts as a intrusion prevention systems and intrusion detection system. This refers to hardware and software that combines packet filtering, content filtering, intrusion detection system capabilities. So IPS act as a IPS. You don't confuse with the terminologies. Firewall can be act as a IPS. Firewall can be act as a IPS. So it can be act as a IPS, and it can act as a packet filtering since it is inspecting the packets at the protocol level, port level, addresses level, flag level. In addition to that, firewall is also going to inspect the packet at the content level also. So firewalls are come with the sophisticated features to filter out the traffic and to provide the security to the communication. For example, alerts from an IDS would automatically trigger certain firewall rules. Intrusion detection system, once if somebody is entering without the permission into your house, what is the firewall rule? Simply ignore that person and shut off the door. Right. Similarly, here, shut off the door means dropping the packets which is coming from the unwanted user. So note, always keeping your system fully patched on a regular basis and perhaps using an IDS such as Snort provides sufficient protection for your system. If you find that you need extra security measures, then look into a commercial IPS. So intrusion prevention system commercially which is available in the market. So if we want to go with the open source kind of things, the capability of such systems are limited. If you want to specialize, because writing a rules to the firewall is up to the administrator and the purpose of the organization which it is going to be defined, well planned, and there should be a well planned, and the definition should be very clear to the administrator to set the rules to the firewalls. Okay, I hope I made you understand about packet filter versus firewall. Yes, clear. So okay. So no response means maybe you are sleeping or maybe you are not listening. Okay, fine. Shall I stop or continue?
Continues.
Okay. So how a firewall protects a network? Okay, we understood that firewall. So this is simple scenario what I written here, described here. Uh, there is not always two computer, one firewall, not like that. You can think of this is one network. You can think of this is one network. You can think of this is one network. It has a n number of the systems connected each other. This is another network. It has n number of the connections. You can think of these are the two different network. To connect between these two network, there is a gateway or a network device installed between that. What's the need of having this gateway? To differentiate the internal network with the external work. You can think of if your organization is running and using the network service means you can think of it is an internal network. And you can think of if your organization is connected with the outside world, it is called a termed as external network. So the firewall, it is not exactly in the middle of the two network. It may be near to your network, organizational network. Either it is in the data center or it is a third party service which is providing a firewall service to you on behalf of your organization. So it is not, it is just a figure of representation. It is not exactly the firewall is between the internal or external, not like that. Okay. So how exactly the firewall going to protect a network? Firewalls are only as effective as the rules they are configured to enforce. So you are the administrator. You are the administrator. Suppose you are the administrator. If you are the administrator, how you are defining the rules for the firewall, whether it is for the firewall is the strong or the firewall is weak, it depends on the administrator and the organizational project manager is going to decide the rule of the firewall, what to filter, which type of the packet should be filtered out, which are the computers are accessible internally, which is the computer is going to connect to the external outside internet services, which internal is going to be exposed to the external internet service. All these things are decided by the administrator who is taking care of the data center. Okay. So firewalls strengthen, whether firewall is a strong or weak. It is up to the decision of the person who is defining the rules. Okay. So firewalls examine particular characteristics of a network traffic and decide which traffic to allow and deny based on some criteria. This is interesting. Based on which condition? For example, suppose if I visit you to your home, so based on which criteria you are allowing me to enter into your home? If so, without your intimation, I am visiting your home. On what basis you are allowing me into your home? Whether you may reject to enter into your home, or you may allow me to sit inside your home. So two possible. What criteria? What is the condition? The person who is entering into your home should well known to you. The first criteria. Second criteria, so without informing you, if person is coming to your home means there is some condition, right? Based on some criteria, the firewalls also is going to check the characteristics. What are the characteristics? The protocols, addresses, ports, and the content of the network traffic. So based on that, using those characteristics, it is going to inspect the packets based on the condition how the administrator is going to set for the firewall. Suppose, do you think that if they have a capability of thinking automatic firewall, automated firewall, If it is the case, then it is easy for us. Instead of defining each and every rules, it is very difficult to define the rules. Suppose if you define a rule in general way, don't allow FTP connection. If you tell it is the general way, general rule, if you set by somebody to the firewall, all FTP incoming packets are going to be dropped or filter out. In such case, suppose if you have an urgency of getting the document, get it printed within the network. In such cases, so for such situation, the general rule is not applicable. That's why you filter out, you create a rules in such a way that it is depending on the usage of the network resources. Based on that, define the rule. So, in if you go with a specific rule set, then the defining the rules become a complex. Because if you are satisfying one person in a group, it is easy. If you are trying to satisfy all the person in a group, it is complex, because all cannot be satisfied by the content what I am going to give today. It depends on the receptor's other side. In the same way, if the administrator, if they are not defining the rules in a proper manner, then that network is going to be a vulnerable to the attackers. So attacker is always looking for the vulnerabilities or the weaknesses, which is going to find when they do the port scanning or when they do the network scanning. So it is the administrator's job to define rules so that the firewall sufficiently protects the network and an information behind it without negatively impacting legitimate traffic. As I said, one person needs a download of a file, but downloading might it has the TCP or FTP connection. If you are not to download such FTP connection or allowing such person, then legitimate traffic may be get it dropped. The intended purpose might not be solved. So this is the administration job is very sensitive job to take care of most of the criteria that's going to be fulfilled for the organizational use. So most firewalls have three ways to enforce a rule for a network. This is very, very important. Please remember or take a screenshot for the next coming classes. This is helpful to discuss more. So most firewalls have three ways. One is accept the packet, means accept the packet which is coming into the firewall and pass it on to its intended destination. As I said, here accept the packet from the traffic which is coming from this internet, accept it, and as it is after check the rules, apply the rules for these packets. If rule is going to meet by this packet or at certain level, 70%, 60%, or 90% mapping, how you are mapping rules. So if it is, it should meet 100%. If you define here, means only few packets are coming into the firewall and the passing on to the another network, right? So if 100%, how you are defining here the firewall rules? The first step is accepting the packet and pass on to its intended destination. Which is the intended destination? It is coming from one network through the gateway and firewall. The rule is if it is accepted, satisfied, then the same packets is sent to the destination where it is intended to send the packets. Next, the second is deny the packet. So deny the packet, and deny the packet means if the traffic is coming from the one source, if the not packet or number of packets, if it does not meet the rules which is applied in the server, simply that packet is going to be that packet is going to be dropped. It won't come here. It is simply dropping that packet here. It is simply dropping the packet. It won't forward that traffic to the destination because it does not meet the requirement of the firewall. So deny the packet and indicate the denial with an internet control messaging protocol message, that is ICMP, whether it is connected or not, whether it is satisfied or not. The some acknowledgement message is going to back to the client, or sometime it is ignored and dropped the packet, or similar acknowledgement to the sender. This provides explicit feedback that such traffic is not permitted through the firewall. If the acknowledgement is sending from the firewall back to the where the packet is sent coming from, then this this network user understand that if I trying to hack the system of the system which is present in the network to the firewall which is installed in between, it is not allowing me to enter into. It means that the hacker is understand that such kind of packets are not allowed. Getting by getting that acknowledgement sent from the firewall. This is the second step. The third step of the firewall is drop the packet without any acknowledgement. So if without sending the acknowledgement, simply if it drop the packets like this. Coming from here, there is no satisfaction of the criteria and rules set by the administrator, then automatically the packet is going to be dropped. When that packet is dropped, no acknowledgement is going back to the sender, then sender will not come to know whether the packet is forwarded or not. In such situation, the hacker is in a dilemma state whether I have to use this technique to attack the target or not, is in dilemma because you don't get any acknowledgement. So that is told to be the drop the packet without any acknowledgement. So what is the three functionality? Accept the packet and pass on to the intended destination. Second one is deny the packet if it does not meet the criteria and rules of the firewall, and sending a acknowledgement to the sender. The third one is dropping the packet without the any acknowledgement to the sender. In this way, the firewall is going to protect a network. So note, it's safer to start with a firewall. Suppose if you are a new to the firewall setup, then how to configure this? From where to start? How to start? So in this case, I can take the example of Windows firewall. Windows firewall. If you are a new user or the new administrator, you got a job in the company as a new administrator. They expected you to set up the firewall for their organization. From where you are going to begin your work. From there, where you are going to begin your work. You start doing with this feature, allow an app, or first you disable all the future features, allowing feature exist with the default setting. So allow apps to communicate through Windows Firewall. You first do this, change settings. You first disallow, not to accept, disallow. Disallow all these which is coming from external entity or the computer. Disallow. You are not allow them to enter into the firewall. Then What next you have to do? Select one by one, go with this option. For example, if you want to allow Avasta user interface, a private connection or public connection, you can allow public. So, for example, CCleaner browser or the checkpoint or the connect to network projector. If you have a connect projector installed in your LAN system, whether you want to allow to project, yes, public IP can be allowed, private also can be allowed. So in this way, you configure the network and allow that traffic which is going through your firewall. So it is a safer to start with a firewall that rejects every incoming connection and open only the necessary holes for services you want to expose. As I said, only allow. So first disable all. If you are confused with these settings, first disable all. Disable all means you are not allowing anyone to your premises. Then what next? So discuss with the organizational leader uh, what which topic they are expected to allow. So after discussing with them and having a plan of it, then you start enabling which are the things they need to be allowed to access the content. You can allow. Suppose if anybody wants to look remotely about your log management, if you want to allow this packet, you can use it as a allow. Okay, in this way, as a new administrator, how you can work on firewall is first disable all, means reject all incoming connections. Then gradually you set up, keep on open the connections to allow the firewall to accept and forward the package to your system. Okay, is it clear? How a firewall protects a network? In this way, a firewall is going to protect a network. So these are the packet characteristics to filter, which is already being discussed previous session. Most firewalls, and just for recall, most firewalls and packet filters have the ability to examine the following characters. That is protocols. Which are the protocols usually the packet filter and the firewall is going to inspect is TCP/IP, FTP, UDP, ICMP, and IP security protocols, and the source IP address and the port of the source, destination IP address and the port of the destination system, ICMP message type and code like ping packets you are doing. So to whether the network is reachable or not, to check with that you can use the ping packet. Ping, for example, if you don't remember the IP address of any website, for example, I don't remember the IP address. In such case, I'm going to type the domain name of that IP address, and I am trying to ping the network whether it is up or running. So you from these statistics you will understand packet sent is 4 packets sent, received also 4. If you are sending 4, receiving 4 means the domain is up and running. So last is 0% loss. So the network is up. You can check through the pinging the internet, right? So message type and code you are going to get. So TCP flags like ECK, FIN, sync, etc. and all. Network interfaces like, as I said, to connect with the outside network or the internal network, we need to have some entry point. That is the physical entry point. Virtual entry points are the port numbers. Physical entry points are the DSL modem, cable or LAN or Wi-Fi networks. These are all the Ethernet cards which allow you to connect with the internet. These characteristics which will be used by the packet filters as well as the firewalls. Okay. For example, let us start with this discussion of this example. You will understand. Then later we'll have a two more example to continue with this discussion. Okay. So, for example, you look into the scenario of this diagram. Uh, every system, every node in a network having IP address. Suppose let's take this is IP address for example 1. This is IP address for example 3 because already 2 is used here. So you can use this is different network. So you can think of 169, 192 here, 10 10 is private network, so you can use 188, 192 afterwards, means 205, like that. 205.168.1, for example. So even internet is also a service which is come with the IP address. Let's say it is the device which used to connect with the internet, which will either it is a router or a gateway. Either it is a router or a gateway. So it has also IP address. It has two IPs. One is internal IP and is another one is external IP. That is external resource. So internal IP address is used to connect with the internal computers of the same network, whereas external IP is used to connect with the outside the network and outside the internal network. So this machine, the either router or the gateway, are used to connect with your internal network to the external world. You can think of this as an single door entry to enter into your network. So let's take the example of if the scenario, if the firewall, how it is controlled, the rules, how that rule is going to be implemented by the firewall. Let us understand with a simple syntax. You can look into the syntax. Deny rule is set in such a way that deny protocol. Proto stands for protocol. ICMP type. ICMP type of the protocol deny the ping. Some networks does not allow you to ping their network. How to stop to ping? They are going to set the firewall rules. If any ping comes to hits to the firewall simply deny the response. Right. So firewall type 8 to 0 from any to 192.168.1.0 It means that Dine protocol, which protocol ICMP packets are going to be dropped in this network, which is sent from any of the computer. So let us understand this clearly. What is this exactly? Do you remember 192.168.1.0/24? What it means? How many computers are exist in this case? This number represents what? This number represents what? These numbers represent what? If you understand this clearly, then this become very easy. What this number represents? Do you remember?
Sir, private IP, I guess.
Private IP of a
A computer.
computer or network?
Like, sir, I think it's a computer only because that's how they identify the device, right?
Yes, computer. How many computers are present in this case?
Uh, like for the private network only from 192.168.0.0 to 255, sir. Like multiplied by 255 into 255.
How many computers are there in this case? It's subnet mask, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a mask, subnet mask. This is mask. This is subnet mask. How many total number of computers are present in this network? If you are able to understand, this discussion is fruitful. Otherwise, no use. So, if it is a network, to represent number of computers which is exist within this network, you are representing in the form of CIDR form. CIDR form. You remember CIDR stands for what? Classless? Huh? Inter? What is CIDR? Classless inter-domain routing. How many computers are present? What is 24 represents? This is which type of IP?
Version 4, IPv4.
IPv4, right? So how many bits are there in IPv4?
32.
32 bits. Out of 32 bits, how many bits are active here? Here, how many bits?
24.
24. 8 plus 8, 16 plus 16 plus how
3.
many? This one? 8 plus 8, 16, 24. Means how many bits? How many computers? How many computers is exist in that network? How many computer exist? In this network, how many computers? How many computers? How to convert it? Apply this subnet mask, that is multiply this, convert 192 to binary format, 168 to binary format, 1 to binary format, 0 to binary format, and apply. You will get the total number of computers are present in this network. Getting? Understood?
Yes, sir.
How to calculate? Got my point? 24 bits are active. Remaining is subnet mask. So if you multiply this, convert it to binary format, and again convert back to the decimal format, you are going to get this value. So how many number of computers are representing this IP? From it begin with IP number 1 to 255, 54. So the computer which is begin with 192.168.1.2, it represents. Getting? It means group of computer is going to represent it through the CIDR format. Got my point? This is very important. So, with this understanding, in your home network, in your organizational network, there are around 255 computers are interconnected. Then, what is the scenario is you want to block the incoming ping packets to your home network. So your network is here, somebody is hitting the ping, they are checking whether you are active or live online or not. There somebody is going to ping using their command prompt of ping or some other tool. Nmap network also used to ping the networks. Nmap tool also used to ping the network. So if somebody is trying to ping your network, so what is the rule is block them, don't allow to enter into your network. This is scenario. What the rules you need to follow? The rules is in such a way that the important components of the rule or the action is deny. You simply deny the such packet. So deny, appropriate syntax is deny. Then what next? The packet attributes, icmp protocol, specifically ping types. If icmp type of protocol which the packet is containing means, filter out characteristic packet filter characteristics is it is going to check the attributes of the protocol type. So icmp means definitely it's a ping type. So icmp type, so protocol, which protocol? Icmp. So this protocol deny this protocol. Then the direction of the rule, that is packet from one source to another. From where? From which any computer of the network outside your home network to destination is which one? Your computer. The type of source, a network address range like this. So any computer outside your network coming into your network to ping whether you are live on the network or not. If you are live on the network, then they will come to know that they are going to do the next level of scanning to obtain the loophole present in your opened ports. To avoid that, some organizations setting a rules in the firewall that they simply deny your packets sent for the ping purpose. This is one scenario of writing a rule in a firewall. This is appropriate syntax. Again, it depends on from tool to it differentiate from tool to tool. So this is a general syntax I am given here. Is it clear? This is one scenario of denying service of the firewall. So we'll discuss two more example in the next coming classes. The second scenario is want to allow the traffic coming from so and so. So we will discuss in the next class. Fine. Thank you. Any questions? Any question? Clear, right?